Hello, I'm Dan Verson,
And I'm Kevin Verson.
and we're here to show you an AI game with the Solitaire rules. This dogfight takes place during the Falklands War in 1982. We have an Argentinian Dagger A versus a United Kingdom Harrier, and they're equipped with some heat-seeking missiles. They both have the ability to fire at advantaged as well as tailing. The Harrier also has the ability to fire its missiles from the neutral position since it has all-angle heat seekers. To begin the game, the Harrier goes first because it has the higher electronics warfare rating, and so he'll take the first turn. My Dagger A, under the AI rules, gets cards equal to his performance. I get 5 cards. To begin with, my aircraft, I roll for its starting altitude. Kevin would have already started with his Harrier, and what altitude would you like to be at?
I'm going to start at medium.
So at this point, I would add 2 if I had a superior EW, but since my EW is inferior by a point, I'm going to subtract 2 from my altitude die roll. I get a 4 minus 2 is 2, so I'm going to begin at low altitude, which means that I would lose 1 point of performance if I had a performance of 6 or higher. I don't, so I'm fine.
I, however, would take the performance negative if I drive down to low.
So here are my AI's 5 cards. Both planes begin at active homing range, and then Kevin takes the first turn.
Alright. First action, I'm going to play a break to decrease the range between our 2 planes by 1 each, to bring me into radar homing and to bring him into radar homing.
My AI, though, has a chance to respond, so I look over here to this chart to the play card and reaction. I'm going to roll a die. I'm going to play a card on a roll of a 9 or higher, and I get to add 1 to my die roll for every card that I have in my hand, which is this modifier here, and he is not doing an action which will result in my destruction, so I don't add +2. I have 5 cards, so I'll play a card in response on a 4 or higher, and I do. So, we know that I'm going to be playing a card. He's attempting to do a maneuvering type action, so I'm going to roll a die to see which kind of card my AI plays in reaction, so that way he knows what to react to. I roll a 6.
Which in this case, you don't have a card that will react to a maneuvering.
Right. Dash means that I would normally play a card, but I don't. So that means that his action ended up working. So we do the range adjustment.
Okay. Since it worked so well last time, I'm going to play a second break for a second range adjust of 2 each, or 1 each, to bring both of us into heat-seeking range.
So again, I need to roll a 9 or higher, +5, reacting on a 4 or higher. I do react. Again, it's to a maneuvering type effect. I roll a 5, and again, I don't play a card in reaction, so both of our ranges get adjusted.
Alright. So, now we're both at heat-seeking range. However, because there's an altitude difference, it means that we're at heat-seeking +1, so we're actually at radar homing, which means my missiles don't work yet. So, I'm going to play 1 more card to reduce both of our ranges by 2. I'm playing a lot of cards to get us close because I want to try to fire some missiles down on him to get an extra card. So, I'm going to try to adjust both of our ranges by 1 to guns.
Reacting again on a 4 or higher.
6, you do.
I do react, and the die roll to see which card I play is a 2,
which means you play a break.
So I declare for the AI, I play a break.
I am not going to play a card to respond to that, and instead I'm going to play it a little safe, and in my turn, drawing 2 cards due to my thrust.
The AI then begins its turn, so I come over here to the discard and draw phase. So the first thing I do is I draw according to my either performance or afterburner. Sorry, my thrust or afterburner. And I roll to see, do I turn my afterburners on? I'll turn them on a die roll of 7 or higher, and then we have some modifiers here. I have 2 uses of afterburners left, so I'll turn them on a 5 or higher. I'm not down to 0 cards, 1 card, or 2 cards. The other player does have heat-seeking missiles though. So while I'm at +2 due to having 2 afterburner uses left, I'm at -4 because he has heat seeker, so overall I'm into -2. So I'll only turn on the afterburners on a 9 or higher. I do not turn on the afterburners, so that means I draw cards equal to my thrust or until I reach my performance, whichever I reach first. So I'm allowed to draw 2 cards, but I only have 1 open card slot, so I only draw 1 card here. We then look to see, does the AI adjust its altitude? If the player's aircraft is at a higher altitude, I'm going to add 1 to my die roll. If he's at a lower altitude, I subtract 1. He's higher, so I'm going to add 1. Rolling a die, I get a 9. +1 is 10, so I'm going to climb. So the AI climbs up to medium, and because it's a climb and down in flames, I have to discard a card. We then check for speed. He has a speed of 2, I have a speed of 1, so that means that I don't do any kind of speed maneuvering. I then roll to see if I'm going to play any cards. I'm going to roll and look on this chart because right now I am not, I'll be in 1 of 3 positions as the AI. Either I'm not in weapons envelope, or I'm in missile envelope, or I'm in gun envelope. Right now I'm not in missile or gun envelope, so I'm just going to play cards to attempt to get into envelope. And I get to add 1 per card, so I'm going to add 4 to my die roll. So I roll is 6, +4 is 10, so I get to do 1 adjustment to either range or positioning or altitude. We're at the same altitude, so there's no reason to adjust that. The range is in heat seeking, so I don't have to adjust that. So what I'm going to do then is attempt to adjust my positioning. So I then declare I'm going to adjust positioning by 1, which will have me advantaged on the Harrier, and that's a maneuvering card that he has to respond to.
I play barrel roll because barrel roll reacts to a maneuvering.
So then I check to see, do I react to his barrel roll card? So I roll a 9 or higher, +3, I'll react on a 6 or higher. I don't react, so he cancels that. I'm still not in envelope, so I'm going to attempt to play another card, but now I only have +3 on my die roll.
A 10.
Again I get a 10, so again I'm going to attempt to adjust his positioning by 1.
That's alright.
Okay. So at this point, I am in weapons envelope because we're both at medium altitude. We are both at heat-seeking range. I have heat-seeking missiles which can fire from an advantaged position. So instead of using this chart, I then move over to the missile chart. In order to see if I get any kind of missile shot at him, I'm again going to roll a die. I get to add 1 per card in my hand, so I get +2 to my die roll. I get a 9. So that means that I'm going to be playing a tone card, and my missile is going to get +0 cards in its missile hand. So here's the card. So I declare tone as the AI.
I don't react to it.
So then we see, now that the AI has tone, does he actually launch a missile? So I come down here to missile launch decision. He's launched a missile, so then we determine how many cards are in his mini hand. His missile gets 1 card from an advantaged position.
+0 because he played a standard tone.
Same altitude, so no adjustment.
-1 due to my aircraft's EW.
So he gets a missile mini hand of 0, but missiles always get their initial missile card itself. So he declares the launch. He's coming in with a missile card, but no supporting cards.
I discard my countermeasures to counter the missile. With the missile having 0 cards in its missile mini hand, the missile is stopped.
So we discard the missile. I'm still in missile envelope, so he's going to check to see, does he now launch his other missile. He gets +1 per missile of this type, so I'm going to roll a die. He gets +1 per card in his hand, so I'm going to add 1 to the die roll. I get a 10. So again, he's got tone, and he's going to be getting +0 cards in his missile mini hand if he decides to launch.
Go for it.
Okay. So he's going to launch on a 5 or higher. He has +1 on his die roll for each missile of this type. And I think you still have 4 cards.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just a base 5.
So base 5 on the die roll. He does not launch a missile this time. He is out of cards, so he stops playing cards. We then go to his end of turn, where we determine how many cards he discards or draws. His afterburners are off, so he does not draw 4. He draws 2 cards due to his thrust. And that ends the first round of play, and then it goes back to the Harrier's turn.
Alright, starting off, I'm going to draw my 2. So now I have 6 cards in my hand. Ooh, good. I'm going to play a scissors card to change position from disadvantaged to advantaged.
So I check to see if the AI responds. I need a 9 or higher plus 2 for 2 cards in my hand, so I'm reacting on a 7 or higher. He does not respond, which means that the scissors work, and I am now disadvantaged.
Alright. I'm going to play a tone weak on you. Are you going to react to a tone?
So I look over here, card reaction, 9 or higher, plus 2, reacting on a 7. I do not react to the tone.
Alright, I'm going to fire one of my AIM 9Ls. This will get me 3 cards in my missile mini hand, minus 1 because it was only a weak tone, so I get to draw 2 cards.
And I have an electronics of 0, so that does not affect it.
Alright, stop a missile.
So I check to see, am I going to respond to the missile? And 9 or higher, plus 2, needing a 7. He does not react, which is kind of bad for him, but there's a note here. If this roll is against a missile card, discard a countermeasure cards if available. So even though he's choosing not to play a card, he does have a countermeasure, so he throws off some chaff and flares. The missile now has to respond to a countermeasure.
And I unfortunately don't have any cards that will react to a countermeasure. Alright, and with that, I will play a card to close range, bringing myself into guns, but keeping us still at heat seeking due to your plane being further.
Okay. Roll for reaction on a 7 or higher. He does not react.
Okay, so I bring myself into guns, and with that I end my turn. I draw 2 cards.
For my aircraft, I check to see if his afterburners are coming on, 9 or higher. He does not, so I draw 2 cards for his thrust. He is not in missile or gun envelope, so he's going to attempt to maneuver. Altitudes are good, ranges are good, so if he does any kind of adjustment, it will be to positioning. He's going to attempt to play a card. He has plus 1 per card in his hand, so he's going to roll and get a plus 4. He comes up with a 7, so at this point he's not doing anything, so he had no decent cards. And so he ends his turn and draws 2 cards, but he's only allowed to come up by 1 card, so he draws a 5th card, and it's back to the Harrier's turn.
Alright, I'm going to discard a card and draw up 2 to my 6. Alright, I am going to play a maneuvering of 1 on you to get on your tail.
So I need a 9 or higher, plus 5, 4 or higher to react. He is going to react.
Reacting to maneuvering?
Reacting to a maneuvering. I come down here, and he is 6, so he's actually not going to attempt to maneuver after all. So the Harrier is on his tail.
Alright. I'm going to play a tone strong. So I'm going to get, so do you react to a tone strong?
So, needing a 4 or higher to react to the tone, he does not respond.
Okay, I'm going to fire. I'm going to get 4 cards, 5, 6 cards for my missile mini hand. That's more cards than his whole plane can hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright.
So, I get plus 5 to my die roll to react to this missile because I have 5 cards in my hand, and it's going to destroy me if I don't, so I get plus 2 more. So I'm at plus 7, so I'll react on anything other than a 1. I react.
Yeah.
Since this is a missile card, I'm going to look over here to see what card I play. I play an 8, which is a vertical roll, so I discard a card to show the vertical roll, and I say, react to a vertical roll, missile.
I play a vertical roll myself.
So then I look over here to see if I can respond to that. He does. I'm now responding to a vertical roll, which has some areas for me not to be able to react. Hopefully I can. Okay, good. I rolled a 7, which is a yo-yo. So his missile now has to respond to a yo-yo.
And I do not have a yo-yo or a scissors or anything else that would respond to a yo-yo. So the missile just got away. Alright, with that, I'm going to play a card to adjust your range, bringing you into guns.
So I'm over here, rolling a 9 or higher, so I need to roll a 6 or higher because I have 3 cards. I do. I'm reacting to a maneuvering. It's a 2, so I play a break card.
And I can't respond to that. Alright, so I end my turn. I draw 2 cards, and that's it for my turn.
Goes back to the AI turn. I'm going to see if I can turn on afterburners on a 7 or higher. I get +2 because I have 2 remaining uses of afterburners. I have only 2 cards in my hand. That gives me +1 more, so I'm at +3. He no longer has heat-seeking missiles, so I'm not so afraid to turn on my afterburners. So I'll turn them on a 4 or higher. And I do. So I get to draw 4 cards, which actually brings me up to 5 because that's my hand size. Flip over that to show that I'm using afterburners. I am not in missile or gun envelopes, so I'm going to be doing maneuverings over here. I get to add 5 to my die roll because I have 5 cards in hand. I get a 14, that's amazing. So I'm going to adjust my positioning by 2, which will be hopefully bringing us to neutral, unless if he can do something about it. Here's the card to show that maneuvering attempt.
I do not have a card that will stop a maneuvering.
So I go here to neutral. And I'm at heat-seeking range, he's at gun range, so we're still treated as being at heat-seeking range. We're both at medium altitude, which means that I'm slightly outside of gun envelope. I'm also outside of missile envelope because my missiles can't fire at advantaged, so I'm still rolling on this chart. So now I'm going to roll to see if I can play any more cards to adjust positioning. At +4, I get a 12.
Ooh.
So again, I'm going to adjust positioning by 2, which will have me tailing him.
I do not have a card that will stop that.
So now I am in missile envelope because same altitude, heat-seeking range, got a missile that can fire from tailing. So I go over here to the missile to see if I can actually fire a card. I have +1 per card, so I'm rolling at a +3. Brings me up to an 8, so this is a tone +0.
Okay, I will not react to that.
Launch decision. 5 or higher, I'm going to be launching +1 because I have 1 missile remaining. And how many cards do you have in hand?
I have 5.
So if you have 5, I'm at -1, so I'm at base, rolling a 5 or higher to launch the missile. I do. Missile away, and he gets 3 cards in his mini hand, -1 for the Harrier's electronics. So I draw a 2-card mini hand for the missile, and I'm keeping these cards separate from my aircraft cards. So first the Harrier has to defend himself against a missile.
Alright, I'm going to play a red line.
Okay, so I roll over here to see if the missile can react to that.
It's only 9 + 2.
9 + 2, I need a 7.
You
He
do?
does. So now can he really react to a red line, which is right there? Not a good
Ooh.
chance. So we're looking for a 4 through 6 or a 10, and he does not. So he defeats that missile shot, and I discard, whoops, and I discard the cards for the missile.
Alright.
I'm no longer in weapons envelope because I'm not in guns and I have no more missiles, so I come back here trying to close the range to get me into guns. I'm going to roll, I get +2 on my die roll, brings me to an 8, I get 1 adjustment, so I'm going to attempt to adjust my positioning to guns, so I throw off a card.
Go for it.
The Harrier does not respond, so now we're at guns, which puts me in guns envelope. So I come over here to the guns table, plus 1 card in hand, plus 1 per gun rating, of which I have a gun rating of 1. So I'm rolling at a plus 2, a 9, that's a good one. So in this case I can't actually do the gun attack because I rolled my 9, which would require guns with a discard of 1. But this was the card that I played for my gun attack, leaving with no more cards. And since I can't actually do the attack, I reclaim this card, and that ends his turn. He has his afterburners on though, so that allows me to draw 4 more cards, which brings me up to full.
Alright, I'm in a bit of a tricky situation here, but we'll see what kind of maneuverings I can do. I am going to climb to high, and I get to decide that at the beginning of my turn. I'm going to discard a card to do so, and I'm going to climb to high.
So then I check to see, does the AI follow that altitude change? He'll follow an altitude change on a 7 or higher. I get plus 1 per card in hand.
Plus 5.
I am in weapons envelope, so I get plus 2. The player's aircraft is not in envelope, so I get plus 2 more.
So you're just going to follow.
So I have enough modifiers here, so I'm just going to follow. So he climbs up to high, and I discard 1 of his cards to follow that change.
Alright. I was hoping to kind of get off him, but... Alright, so I'm going to play a red line for its maneuvering value of 2.
Over here, needing a 9 or higher plus 4, reacting on a 5. He does react, hopefully. And down here on a maneuvering, he gets a 1, so he plays a break card.
Okay. Not going to respond to that. I'm going to try a maneuvering of 1.
So now I'm only at a plus 3, so reacting on a 6, he does not react.
Okay. And I'm going to play 1 more card to do 1 more maneuvering.
Reacting on a 6 or higher, he does maybe react to a new maneuvering.
On a 10? Ooh, he does.
So he plays an ace pilot, very hard to react to that.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Because we're at high, my thrust is at -1, but my performance is up by 1. Not that it matters in this case, as I only have 2 cards. So I only draw 1 card at the end of my turn.
Coming back to the AI's turn, his afterburner now is off, and then we roll to see does he turn his afterburner on for his second and final use. 7 or higher plus 1, so he's rolling on a 6 or higher, and he only has 2 cards in his hand, so he gets plus 1 more, so on a 5 or higher, he is.
Ooh.
Afterburner's on, which allows him to draw 4 cards, which gives him 3 cards. Oh, wrong deck. 1, 2, 3. So he's at full. They're both at guns. Oh, one thing there, being at high altitude, he gets plus 1 performance. So
he would only ever draw 3 because his thrust is down by 1, so his afterburner is down by 1.
Kevin's right. His thrust is down by 1, performance is up, so he only gets to draw 3 cards, so he is still at 5. We're at guns, both at high altitude, so I can do a gun attack here. So I'm going to roll, hopefully getting something good. I get plus 5 for my cards, plus 1 for my gun is plus 6 overall. I get a 12. Now because I'm advantaged, I check to see, do I have enough cards to both play a guns card and discard 2 cards? I do. So I use this card for my guns attack. I then discard these 2 cards as required. So AI then declares gun attack on the Harrier.
Alright, I'll play a guns jinking.
So I look over here, I'm reacting on a 7 or higher. He is going to react. It's a guns card. On a 1, he plays a break in response.
Hey. Well, I've been holding on to this since the beginning of the game, but I'm going to ace pilot it.
So over here, reacting on an 8, he cannot react to the ace pilot. He then draws up at the end of his turn. He's at -1 thrust and thrust and afterburner for being at high altitude, so I get to draw 3 cards.
Alright, I get to draw 1 card at the beginning of my turn. I'm then going to dive down to medium.
So I check to see, do I follow his altitude change? I have +4. I am in weapons envelope. He's not in weapons envelope, so I'm just going to follow this change. I'm diving, so he gets to draw a card, but I'm also only advantaged on him, which means I have to discard a card. So I maintain my position and follow him down to medium.
Alright, I'm going to maneuver for 1.
Checking to see if I respond. I do respond to a maneuvering.
On an 8 with a barrel roll.
So he plays a barrel roll in response.
I do not have something that will top that. Last card out of my hand, I'm going to try to maneuver for 2.
Reacting on a +3 is a 6. He does not react.
Okay.
So you're now advantaged?
Correct.
Okay.
And ending my turn, I'm going to draw 2.
The last of the AI's afterburner is expended. So at this point he draws 2 cards. His normal thrust brings him up to full performance. He's not in weapons envelope. We roll here.
Ooh.
It's a 10 plus 5 is 15. So he's going to attempt to adjust positioning by 3. This will put him on the Harrier's tail.
Alright, I'm going to play a barrel roll to react to that.
So here was his initial card to maneuver. I'm then rolling to see if I can react to the barrel roll.
On a 3.
So +4 is a 7. That's not enough, so he does not react. He's then going to attempt to roll again, this time at a +4. Again, he's going to attempt to maneuver by 2.
He goes for it.
Brings me to advantage. I'm now in gun envelope, so I roll over here. I'm going to get +3 for cards, +1 for gun is +4. Is an 8. Being advantaged, instead of actually firing a gun, he plays a maneuvering card, which will put me on the Harrier's tail unless if he reacts.
He does not.
+3 for my die roll again, 13.
Oh.
I'm tailing now. With a 13, I have to play 1 card for my gun, and I require 0 discards, so this is a legal gunshot. So the Harrier has to defend against a gun or die.
Alright, last card, a gun react. The gun's jinking.
So 8 or higher to react. He does not react. He then draws 2 cards for the end of his turn, and it becomes the Harrier's turn.
Okay. This is not great for me. I have my 2 cards, and I'm going to dive to low.
So he gets to draw a card. I then roll to see if I follow. I'm at a +7. I mean, I need to roll a 7 or higher. I'm at +3 for my cards, +2 because I'm in angle, +2 more because he's not in angle. So I will automatically follow that altitude change. I will dive and draw an AI card.
Alright, so my performance is hindered right now because I'm at a 6+, so now I can only hold 5 cards in my hand, so I might as well make the most of it. So I'm going to, because I'm desperate, use an ace pilot for maneuvering to perform 4 maneuverings going from being tailed to tailing the dagger.
So my AI reacts on a 9 or higher, +4. So I'm reacting on a 5 or higher. He does not react, unfortunately.
Alright, I feel like this is going to be my only opportunity. I play Guns Good Angle. If tailing, discard 0 cards. I also have a gun rating of 1, which doesn't apply in this case. So I have to discard 0 cards to perform this gun attack and destroy the dagger.
So I'm going to react at a 9 or higher, +4, so I'm reacting on a 5 or higher, and I'm about to die. So that means I'm reacting on a 3 or higher. Hopefully he's got something. So he does play a card in reaction. What card he plays in response? I roll a 3, so he plays a break to try to get away from that gun attack.
I play a barrel roll as the last card in my hand.
So I'm rolling over here to see if I can react to the barrel roll. I have +3 for cards, +2 because I'm about to be destroyed, which gives me +5. So on a 4 or higher, rolls a 2, he cannot respond, which means that the Harrier blows him up with a gunshot.
All right, that's the Solitaire rules.
That pretty much covered everything. We adjusted altitude, positioning, missile shots, gunshots. Everything is nice and self-contained here, and the AI plays under the normal rules, which makes the game very easy to play.
And this will be an 11 by 17 map that will come in every base game of Locked On, right?
Right, and this is just a prototype. Once we get it all ready and snazzied up for production, it'll have artwork and it'll look nice on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for watching.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.